start with the major news highlights of the day. Leadership of the Inter-Party Coalition in Defense of National Sovereignty has called on the President to dissolve the Commission of Inquiry that is investigating the violence at the Bawaleshi during the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election. Presenting their petition to the office of the President, they called on him to resort to televised parliamentary investigations into the matter. On tonight, 6 persons have been arrested in connection with the murder of investigative journalist with Tiger Eye PI Ahmed Hussein Swale. The Director General of the Police Public Affairs Directorate, ACP David Iklu, who made this known at a media briefing in Kumasi, said the suspects have since been granted bail. And Ghana's top security officials have held a meeting to devise a roadmap to deal with the political vigilantism and other security issues in the country. The outcome of the two-day meeting being held at Pejiase in the eastern region would be called the Pejiase or Ebri Declaration. And still tonight, Parliament's Privileges Committee has suspended hearing on the alleged contempt case brought before it by Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Muhammad Mubarak against Asin Central MP Kennedy Ejapong. The Vice Chairman of the committee, Andrew Kofi Mesa, told our reporter Evelyn Tengma sitting had to be suspended following a notice of motion by lawyers for the Asin Central legislator seeking to set aside the Speaker's order for the referral. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, you can hear me live on 3FM 92.7 and you can follow our live stream on facebook.com and on 3news.com. Let's start with our very first story. Tonight, Ghana's top security officials have held a meeting to devise a roadmap to deal with the political vigilantism and other security issues in the country. The outcome of the two-day meeting being held at Pejiase in the eastern region would be called the Pejiase or Ebri Declaration.
The National Security Stakeholders Dialogue is the fourth in a series aimed at sharpening efforts at improving the security architecture in the country. Security chiefs, civil society organizations, security experts, and government officials attended the two-day dialogue. Security challenges examined included robberies, kidnappings, terrorism, and particularly political vigilantism. Participants are expected to draw a roadmap on how to tackle such challenges.
What the security chiefs and the political brass have been doing is updating the stakeholders, as you notice behind closed doors, on the kind of work that is going on, and also taking feedback and, in some cases, some ideas and guidance and suggestions. One of the key things is the development of a roadmap to trying to put a final end to these issues of political vigilantism in the country as well. And we do expect that we will exit here with that roadmap by the time we are done today.
Information Minister Kojo Ponkruma is of the view the meeting will put an end to the security challenges confronting the country.
It is around the table like this that you can get the various stakeholders being honest and upfront and opening up without any victimization. And some very professional work being done. The President is very committed that some of these ills that have been around for decades, we, at least during his time, managed to find a lasting solution to it. And today's engagement is part of those exercises to find a lasting solution to them.
Government insists such dialogues are crucial in developing acceptable methods for tackling contemporary security challenges.
Right, now the West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP, says that the ensued violence at the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election, believed to have been perpetrated by armed political vigilante groups, reveals increasing violent acts of vigilantism and thuggery around elections in Ghana. A statement released by WANEP says that it demonstrates a seeming culture of impunity, which is increasingly becoming entrenched in the body politic of the country, and is a lack of political will on the part of the political party's leadership to address the menace. ONEP is calling on the peace and political actors, the National Peace Council, the Christian Council of Ghana, the Ghana Islamic Council, the security agencies and traditional authorities and opinion leaders to initiate a dialogue to ensure the two main political parties, the ruling MPP and the opposition National Democratic Congress NDC, lead in disarming and disbanding of vigilante groups associated with them. All right, so let's get on to Skype now and speak to Executive Director of ONEP, Chukwu Emeka Eze. Mr. Emeka Eze, we'll be grateful if you could bring down your device a little bit so we can see you fully and have a conversation. So we're grateful that you're joining us. So ONEP really, the issues of vigilante groups have been with us for a little while. I mean, from the inception of the 2016 elections of vigilante, the invisible forces and all the issues, the thuggery that happened at the MPP headquarters, and subsequently we're being hearing of vigilante groups. This is not new. So I'm wondering why it's now becoming a major concern for us, as we've been warning against it anyway.
I think if you look at the way it is going, it is a progression, and that's why we are a bit worried. What started as a very small issue that could be contained within political party is now part and parcel of the execution of electoral processes. And that's why we are a bit worried that if it continues on this trajectory, then it means that every other political party will begin to look at it as part and parcel of the way to execute electoral processes.
Your statement also talks about lack of political will to disband these groups associated or affiliated with political parties. Is that all we need in order to clamp down on vigilante groups' political willingness?
Well, if you look at the vigilante group, you will agree with me that there is none of them that exist without the backing of any of the political parties. I think that beyond the rhetorics, this is the time to ensure that there's a lot of political will amongst the political parties to engage their leadership and also ensure that they engage the vigilante groups and also disband them. If you look at the past administration, they also had a lot of effort in that direction. But in our own opinion, we think that it takes beyond just the rhetorics, then it goes beyond just the rhetorics. It goes further to talk about the real action to ensure that it is disbanded. The problem is, if the two key political parties continue to engage them, then it means they are in business. And once they are in business, it means you are commercializing violence. And that means there is an opportunity for them to thrive. And if either the ruling party or the opposition political party, I'm talking about the main opposition political party, decide to take a step in the right direction and disband and disavow this group, then in the real sense of it, not just in the rhetorics, then it means that they are actually making a statement that they are not going to use them as part of their political agenda.
I like the expression you use, commercializing violence. Do you get the sense that if we are unable to clamp down on vigilante groups from now, it might create a very nasty situation for the 2020 elections? Are these your fears?
I can assure you, without any fear of contradiction, that if nothing is done at this moment, the two main political parties will strengthen their own base and ensure that they can match each other when it comes to the electoral process. And the danger with that is that nobody will have the control of any of the groups within their system post the election period. And that is just the fear of everybody. And if you look at the progression it is assuming, then you will understand the fear of most of the peace actors within the system.
Let's compare the solution you proffered. You are saying that the political parties, ONEP actually, is suggesting that the political parties should lead the process to disband these groups that are affiliated to them. Now, on the other hand, is the government efforts forming strategic groups. They've been meeting at Pediasi in Ebri to map out what they call a roadmap, a Ebri declaration to deal with vigilante groups and other security issues. When you compare these two actions, which of them do you think that would actually be the best step in dealing with this? Government forming strategic of security heads, start a roadmap, and political parties taking a lead in disbanding these groups?
I think there is need to have a bipartisan to it. That's on one hand. The second thing is that it is not just enough to disband. When you disband, then you need to also reinvent the skills of those who are involved in the vigilantism. In this case, I'm looking at how do you now re-engage them and ensure that you don't just say they should go to hell, because they already have a skill. So how do you now transfer those skills to something that will help the society and will not create a problem within the society? I do not think that just the government in power can do that alone. I think it takes a bipartisan approach to deal with the menace. And in this case, you're looking at, so how do we ensure that we come together, not as political parties, but as Ghanaians, either as parliamentarians or as government, to seek a collective solution to the problem. Otherwise, you can act on one and then create a bigger problem on the other side. And that problem might go into the communities.
Are you confident that these commission of inquiry set up by the presidency to investigate the circumstances that led to the violence, are you confident that it will yield any effective results or outcomes?
I think that everybody is convinced now about the direction that the growth and the progress being made by this group is getting to. And in my mind, nobody is safe in the long run. At this moment, it could be used to gain political points or grounds, but at the long run, nobody knows the direction it's heading to. I think there is enough sensitization now around the government circle and also amongst the polity to be able to begin to discuss candidly how to deal with this issue. So I have faith in the Commission of Inquiry, but beyond the Commission of Inquiry is what happens with the report. I do not want a situation where it will be a motive to buy time. Right. I think beyond the Commission of Inquiry, because everybody knows what the problem is, beyond the Commission of Inquiry to just deal with a one-off issue is how do we get to the root of this matter? How did we get to this place? And how do we redress the matter collectively in a bipartisan way?
Right. We're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Chukwuemeka Eze is Executive Director of the West African Network for Peace Building, ONEP. And I'm Stephen Enti. This is News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda in Accra. And you can hear me on 3FM 92.7. Leadership of the Inter-Party Coalition in Defense of National Sovereignty has called on the President to dissolve the Commission of Inquiry that is investigating the violence at the Labaoleshi during the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election. Presenting their petition to the office of the President, they called on him to resort to televised parliamentary investigations into the matter. Godfrey Tanham has the rest of the story.
Presenting their petition to the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, protesters nearly clashed with the police when they were refused to go beyond the barricade. Tempests were calmed down and the leadership went ahead to present the petition to the Interior Minister. The next stop for the protesters was at the police headquarters, where the IGP, David Asante-Apietu, received the petition. The demonstrators marched to the presidency, where they were received by the Minister of State at the presidency, Roxanne Bukari. The convener of the group, Bernard Mona, made some demands they want the president to act on, describing members of the Commission of Inquiry as partisan.
Of the foregoing, it is our firm belief that the Commission of Inquiry cannot be trusted to do a good job. We therefore demand for a full-scale parliamentary inquiry that will be captured live on television.
Right, so this is still News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Desawe, Kanda, and Accra. And when we return, we'll take some of the answers and comments to our question on Facebook. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, 6 persons have been arrested in connection with the murder of investigative journalist with Tiger Eye PI Ahmed Hussein Suwali. The Director General of the Police Public Affairs Directorate, ACP David Eklu, who made this known at the media briefing in Kumasi, said the suspects have since been granted bail. Here's a report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
ACP David Eklu during the news briefing also indicated that 3 other persons, Kennedy Ejapon, Kwesi Nyantichi, and Anas Armeyao Anas, have been questioned.
6 suspects have been arrested, questioned, and are currently on bail.
The police are seeking public support to get to the bottom of the murder.
A lot of people have described them, and we are also trying to get a cartographer who can give us an artistic impression about who they are to help in identifying them.
Investigative journalist Ahmed Hussein
Right, we apologize for a technical hitch there, but let's quickly get onto the telephone lines and speak with sports journalists Mustafa Idrisu, who is a spokesperson for the family of Ahmed Suwali. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much. This must come as a bit relieving to the family, as these 6 individuals have been arrested, right?
Yeah, we got the news this evening that some people have been arrested and have been granted bail.
I'm asking whether this comes to you as good news.
Oh, yes, yes. You know, it actually also leads to get you informed that the police are actually working.
And the police are telling us that they're looking for artists to assist them draw the pictorial representation of the 2 killers that were seen around the area around the same time that Ahmed Suwali was shot dead. Does this convince you of enough commitment to get to the bottom of the matter and bring justice to your family?
We've always had confidence in the police service. We've always had confidence in the security services. We've always had confidence in the, investigative bodies that are conducting investigations into the heinous crime that was committed. And yes, if the police are saying that they are looking for an artist, I think they will be able to get such a person. They can do forensic examination, and they'll be able to get such person.
So what are the expectations of your family? I mean, I know that it's a very sad moment to lose somebody like him in the manner that he died, and you must have some expectation of government or police and security services over this. Can you share with us?
Yeah, as you know, when things like this happen to you, you expect the speed with which those who are perpetrators of that act will be arrested and brought to justice. So we expect the speedy kind of investigations into this to bring the perpetrators to.
Right, Mustafa.
We have also indicated severally that the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Ghana Journalists Association, and all other well-meaning Ghanaians should actually come out and then let's put pressure together so that at the end of the day, we find justice for Ahmed Swale.
Right, Mustafa Idris, we're grateful for your time and our condolences to you and your family. Tomorrow will be the memorial service organized by the Ghana Journalists Association for the murdered journalist Ahmed Swale. It's our prayer also, the journalism fraternity, that we'll get to the bottom of this. But right now, let's get to our key question tonight. Ghana's top security officials have held a meeting to devise a roadmap to deal with political vigilantism. Our key question tonight is, what suggestions would you make in dealing with political vigilantism in Ghana? And some of your comments have been coming in. Let's quickly run through some of them. This one from Peter Timbabuya says that, well, trusting the police should have been the ideal thing, but we live in a country where independence of our institutions is nothing for me to put my focus on. We practice democracy where independence of institutions is not there. To me, until we allow our institutions to work without interference, we'll continue to suffer injustice in our system. But all the same, let's see what happens, right? What happens? Peter Timbabuya, we wait and see attitude. Adam Justice says, the Ghana Police Service is with integrity and strong men and women who are capable of providing utmost security to our people. However, political interference and control has come to tarnish their hard-earned reputation in the eyes of the Ghanaian people. It is time for the police hierarchy to rise up against these politicians who will sacrifice the peace we are enjoying for their selfish and parochial interests to the detriment of the people. And then this one from JC Boakon says that Ghana Police Service are on top of issues, maintaining peace and order to ensure everyone is protected. Ghana is very safe and peaceful. All right, so that's how we wrap up with NEWSAT10. Thanks very much for joining us. For those of you who tuned into 3FM 92.7, thanks for your time. And those who followed us on Facebook Live, thanks also. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.